All right, we're going to continue talking about plants today and knowledge. But we're actually going to be reading a story called A Tall Tale. Can you say a tall tale?
Tall tale.
A tall tale is a story that's kind of funny. They're usually a little funny, but they stretch the truth. You know what it means to stretch the truth?
No.
It means you're kind of lying, but not really. So that's what it means to stretch the truth. It's exaggerating something that is the truth. Okay? Now, we've already learned about this person before. We read a book earlier.
It's Johnny Appleseed.
Yes, we read a book about Johnny Appleseed. And we're going to learn a little bit more about him by reading this tall tale today. But before we read this tall tale, let's talk about plants. Let's talk about some plants. So we know that a plant has a life cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did the life cycle of the pumpkin, remember that? We also talked about the life cycle of the apple tree, right?
Sunflower.
And the life cycle of the sunflower. You're right. We did. We talked about all of those.
And the leaves. What about a palm tree?
Okay. Where are the seeds located?
Inside the apple.
Oh, excuse me, but I can't hear. What'd you say?
In the apple.
In the fruit part, right? See, the seeds are located in the fruit part of the plant. Remember that from yesterday? Okay. So we're gonna we're gonna read, and you're gonna hear about Mr. Johnny Appleseed. Put it away.
Johnny Appleseed.
Oh, what? Do you remember? What do you call a humorous story that stretches the truth? Dylan?
Because he's almost blind.
Oh, do you remember when I said the kind of story that we're going to read today is a story that's humorous, that stretches the truth? What kind of story was that called, Shaylin?
Kind of lying.
Yeah, I did say that. It's called A Tall Tale. Remember that? A Tall Tale. All right. Look here. A long time ago in the rolling hills, there lived a man called Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed did not have a home, but instead he wandered across the country from Massachusetts to Pennsylvania to Ohio to Indiana to Illinois. Wander means he went from place to place without knowing exactly where. Johnny wasn't born with the name Johnny Appleseed, but he got that name as he moved from one small town to the next. Listen to hear how Johnny got the name and why he became a hero to many people. A hero is a very brave person, right? Okay. Johnny was born in Massachusetts with the name John Chapman. When Johnny grew up, he decided to travel across the country. People could tell from Johnny's clothing that he was really very poor. His clothes were shabby. And he walked around barefoot, even in the winter. When something is shabby, it means it's old and torn. His hat was so threadbare that you could see his hair beneath it. But despite his loneliness and poverty, Johnny had a brave heart. So even though Johnny was usually alone and he was very poor, he was very happy and very brave.
He also had some friends, the animals.
He believed in the power of love. He loved all the people and all the animals that he met along the way. In fact, Johnny often thought to himself that he loved all the people and all the animals in the world, even though he had never met them. The people Johnny met along the way enjoyed his company. They would often invite him to share a simple meal. Johnny would accept the invitation with a smile. After the meal, he would take out the one possession that he owned that was worth anything. It was his violin. Do you see his violin in the picture?
Yeah. I can't see it.
Then he would play for people who had been kind to him. Sometimes his music was happy, and sometimes it was sad. People loved to hear Johnny play, whether his music was happy or sad. They said it soothed the soul and made them feel happier. Johnny lived most of his adult life this way. He wandered from place to place and survived as best he could. You might think that Johnny left no mark upon the land, or no great memory of his existence once he passed away. This means that you might think Johnny was not an important person and that people might forget it. After all, how could he have, as he was just a poor man who wandered from place to place? But Johnny did indeed leave something of himself behind, something quite extraordinary or amazing, and something that would give him the name Johnny Appleseed. You see, as he traveled across the country from town to town and from farm to farm, he collected apple seeds. The apple seeds came from the apples kind strangers gave him to eat along the way. Johnny saved the seeds and planted them in the rich earth. He planted them here, there, and everywhere. And what happens when you plant a seed?
It grows.
When wintertime came and the earth was frozen, he saved the seeds in his pockets as if they were precious diamonds. Then, when springtime came again, he planted the seeds as he moved from place to place. Johnny hoped that one day orchards, or places where the fruit trees grow, would eventually grow up from the rich soil and feed all the people and the animals he loved so much. Johnny did this until his tired old body could plant no more. However, what Johnny hoped for came to pass. The apple seeds took root and the young saplings began to grow. As the years went by, beautiful apple trees dotted the landscape. Apple trees appeared like an oasis on the wide open prairies. Eventually, more and more people began to move west. Wagons full of hopeful people rolled across the land. Later, the railroad brought even more hopeful people. All of these people were searching for new places to make a home. Incredibly, many people chose to build their homes near the apple trees and orchards that Johnny had planted. The sight of these trees gave people hope of a fruitful and prosperous future. And prosperous means successful. Farmhouses and then towns were built near the trees that Johnny had planted. He became a hero to all those who loved apple trees as much as Johnny did. And they began to call John Chapman Johnny Appleseed. As the years went by, people harvested the apples from the trees Johnny planted and stored them away for winter months. They made pies, apple butter, and jam. Children played beneath the branches of the apple trees and sat in the cooling shade. These things happened because Johnny Appleseed had cared about all the people of the world, whether he knew them or not. That's cool, isn't it? Yeah. So, and please don't shout your answer out. Please raise your hand. I've got some questions. Please raise your hand and don't shout the answer out, okay? Where did Johnny Appleseed get apple seeds for planting? Rosie,
Apples.
where did he get those apples?
From trees. From humans.
Yes, he got them from humans. He got them from people that gave him apples because he was poor. So people gave him apples to eat, right?
Yeah, and the people picked the apple and they gave him.
How did John Chapman get the nickname Johnny Appleseed? Dylan.
Because he planted apple trees.
He planted apple trees and he loved them, right? Good. All right. Great job. So today, boys and girls, we read a tall tale about Johnny Appleseed. Okay.
I also know what this also was called, a folk tale.
It's a tall tale. Kind of like a folk tale, but it was a tall tale.
That means it's a real tale.
It is real, yeah, but it has a little bit of, it stretches the truth a little bit. All right. My in-class learners, give me 1 second, okay? All right. My online, you are going to sequence these cards about Johnny Appleseed and how he planted his apple seeds. So you'll cut these out and then you will put them in order by what happened at the beginning and then the steps in the middle and then at the end. You can glue them in your notebook if you want to. All right. Thank you so much for joining our knowledge today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. What happens in this? Bye, Maddie. Bye, Maddie.